That was really good. God damn it, am I going to become a freaking hybrid player now?
Yes, and we're going to build it all the way down to your 7-iron, and you're going to love it. You're going to play your best golf ever.
G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Fully Equipped. We are here at Fujikura. You got me, Wade Maroun, you've got Kris McCormack, and you got Spencer Reynolds over here. So we're here today to go through some new stuff that's going to be coming out in 2025 with Fujikura.
Yeah, correct. We got really 4 new products for you, 1 new category, and then 1 sort of like a line extension piece. I'll walk you through each part of it. We'll talk a little bit about the tech, and we'll get into it.
I'm going to go hit some clubs, see what happens, and we'll let you know how that all feels. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get stuck in, mate.
Newest, latest, and greatest. 3 familiar colors.
Yes.
New category.
Correct.
So walk us through, what are we taking a look at here?
You'll remember in 2024 when we upgraded the full Ventus wood line, we talked about a technology called VeloCore Plus. And what that essentially was, it was an enhancement to the original VeloCore that was featured in Ventus TR and Axiom irons and all the way back to original Ventus. So what we did with that technology, just kind of as a recap, we talk about original VeloCore. It's a combination of materials that run the entire length of the shaft. And ultimately what it is for us is just a stability platform. So if everything shares that same layer of stability, we can do different bend profiles, like a low launch, a high launch, a mid, and we can do different weights and flexes, and they're consistent throughout. So your 50R2 is as consistent and as stable all the way up to your 90, 100X models. When we retooled that, we took sort of the key material components in original VeloCore that made it do what it does, and then we incorporated a 3rd layer to the bias core. It increases speed, it increases feel, consistency, accuracy, all the things you want to do. Hence the plus, we made it just that much better. So when we have a new tech, like you and I have discussed in the past, anytime we have a new technology, we want to vet out, can that fit into other product categories, right?
Right.
It seems like an easy thing to do, just add it in this, add it in that, but we're very meticulous with how we do it. Now,
Sure.
we did not update the original Ventus hybrid when we came out with Ventus TR. There was no Ventus TR hybrid. So we figured it was time. We've got this great new tech. We've got the original parts updated. It's time to kind of update other parts of the bag as well. And that's what we're doing for this year. So this will be an all new Ventus hybrid featuring VeloCore Plus technology. Same technologies in the wood line. And the big news here is SKU expansion for 1. So the original, we just had a black and a blue profile with pretty limited SKU mix. So we've expanded the SKU mix on that, but also it's this piece right here. We've added a red hybrid, which we have not had before.
Right.
The color scheme matches throughout, just like the woods. You have a mid-launch, a low launch, and a high launch. What's cool about the red is that we found a way to increase launch and spin in a hybrid or in a utility iron without creating any drops in consistency.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, so you're going to hit all 3 of these today. We're going to walk through it, talk as you hit them, but that's kind of the overarching kind of product story is we've upgraded the new tech with a new profile. They mimic the woods pretty consistently. The only thing different is in the red hybrid. It's a little softer in the handle section than the red woods are. It's a shorter blank link shaft. We want to increase feel. So just a few design changes there, but the overall theme is the same. So I'll be curious for you to hit them, get your feedback, and we'll rock and roll.
And hybrids typically a category you struggle with.
Yeah, I don't like hybrids. They're not my friend, but I do love hybrid shafts because I play driving irons and I always put a hybrid shaft in there. But I do think as I'm getting older and as my swing speed is getting more smoothie, I do need to start looking at hybrids going forward.
And you made an excellent point about the utility irons. We see that in utility irons as well. Yeah. People ask us the difference between why wouldn't I just put an iron shaft, in a utility iron versus a hybrid shaft.
Right.
These play a little bit more like a wood shaft. They have a little bit more give to them, a little bit more pop like you would find in a wood, whereas a traditional iron shaft is more stable throughout. The profile is kind of uniform throughout the set. This gives you some flexibility to say, well, maybe in a particular lofted utility iron or hybrid, I would like something that goes a little bit higher than maybe I would in my 5 or 6 iron. So that's where we see the changeover, but we do get that question a lot. Why wouldn't I just put a long iron, in a long iron utility? And it's the versatility. You can actually alter the performance a little bit tighter, and it's a feel thing as well.
I do have my current driving iron in a original Ventus blue shaft, so I'm very well versed with how these feel as well.
Nice.
The old ones, not the new ones. I've
Cool.
never hit these yet.
Well, let's hit them.
Andrew, Spencer Tag GN, operating the computer, walking us through this journey here. What profile are we starting with here?
So we're going to start, Wade, with a blue profile here. So mid-launch, mid-low spin. Let's fire away.
Yes, sir.
What's the call on the number?
220.
220.
There she is.
There she is. So typically, Wade has a little bit of left miss.
Okay.
So setting we put on the hybrid, B1 for the Titleist head, a little flatter. Hopefully get that start line a little more right.
Yep.
That sounded good.
Yep, that was good.
Hold it off, don't go left.
Yep.
Shaft feels really solid. Shaft feels really stable, really nice.
So new category coming in with Ventus product for hybrid and just kind of creating that full family experience, driver, fairway hybrid. And like we were kind of talking about with Spencer, somebody like Wadeh that doesn't necessarily play a hybrid per se, but really likes to bring in that driving iron for certain situations. Now, same kind of applicable build for driving iron as what you would see in hybrid.
Yeah.
Same family.
Yep, same family, and then obviously have red now for 2024 Ventus Hybrid introduced. So now we have a full 3 profiles for all 3. Have something that's launching a little bit higher if you're looking for a utility iron, or even a hybrid to launch it up, land softer, or if you still want a little bit more of a penetrating flight for something off the tee box, then you've also got blue and black as well.
Nice.
That's gone left. They're not too bad, actually.
Yeah, it didn't move too much.
The stability of this shaft is feeling really, really great. You can tell that you put the Velocore Plus in here, going along with the rest of the Woods line that you brought out earlier in 2024. The stability of this feels really, really good. It feels like it's got a lot of power that's generating through the shaft as well. Like at impact, I'm in that lower third, I'm feeling a lot of that power come through as well. I think the thing I'm really enjoying about it is I'm not getting stuck. It's a very stiff shaft, an 8X, but it feels like I can move it around and play with it a little bit.
That's a lot of the feedback that we got in player testing, hitting that exact shaft that you have here. That's why it's painted black.
Yep.
But we wanted to have something that feels really good without sacrificing stability, and I feel like that's a hallmark kind of the whole Ventus family, right? And especially with the Velocore Plus platform now being in a hybrid platform as well, being able to score and hit those hybrids and those utility irons even better.
Absolutely.
I'll come back around because that would have been really good if it does. Feels good though.
Yeah, I mean, where you're striking it on the face and where you're introducing face angle at impact, ball's not curving a ton.
No,
where it starts.
it's going a lot
really
straighter
stable.
than I expected.
And the ball flight was still pretty stable.
That was really good. All right, that was a good one.
That's a good one to end on there.
That's a really good one.
So now we've gone to the red.
Brand new shaft.
Correct.
Brand new shaft.
Brand new. Didn't have a red for the original Ventus Hybrid family.
Yep.
Obviously something that launches a little bit higher than the blue and a very similar profile with a softer tip.
Yep.
Just to help get a little bit more dynamic loft, a little more spin. We don't really want to classify this as something that is a high launching, high spin. A lot of players, I think, start to shy away from a shaft when they hear that. Ventus as a whole family is a lower launching, lower spinning product, and so it's just the highest launching of the 3.
And so I do play an original Ventus in my UW. I've tipped it quite a bit, like 1.5, 2 inches. Have these got room to tip as well on the red side of things if you wanted to go down that path?
Oh yeah, and then the UWs usually take the wood shafts as well, so with being 335, the sweet spot is usually around 1.5, 2 inches. But yes, there's definitely some room to tip these hybrid shafts as well.
And in the hybrid structures, red's still similar in the handle section as what we have in the black, with the blue being softest handle?
It's going to be a little bit backed off. It's not going to be quite as stiff as the black, because obviously it's a shorter blank.
Right.
And so when you scale that down a little bit, the red's going to feel really aggressive.
Makes sense.
With that kind of ultra stiff handle as the black.
That's
so.
I mean, at true spec and in the fitting environment, you're going to get that question.
Yeah.
As in the driver, we're used to handle section between red and black, I mean, being parallels.
Yep.
And now getting into this new addition into the hybrid family, adding the red, does that kind of transfer? Is it still a parallel? But in that shorter raw profile, that makes sense that you'll have to scale it back and soften that section up a little bit, just so you don't have too much overlap between the profiles.
100%. Yep.
So blue's still softest handle section?
Correct.
Got it. How's this one feeling?
Feels good. It feels different. It feels more whippy than the blue. This feels like once I get it, like once I understand the dynamic of the shaft and how I need to like swing through, this will probably go a little bit further than the blue for me, just with that extra whip at the end. If I can get that timing right.
Yep.
Because I've kind of muffed 2 of the shots and they've gone the same distance.
The fun part for me when you're doing sample testing, when you have the blacked out samples and you don't want a player to have a preconceived notion as to what they should anticipate or what they should expect out of a certain part, and you get that just blind, genuine reaction of this feels like.
Correct.
With feel being subjective and him not having a knowledge base of, hey, this is the red structure, blue or black, then you get genuine reaction and see how that part responds to how he loads it, how he releases it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really important for us when we're gathering data and we're player testing a part is we do want true feedback on a part, because we don't want to just release it because it's, you know, within the product cycle. We want something that's going to perform and feel really good as well.
Definitely.
So I finally timed one, and that was really good. It's definitely higher than the blue, but felt really great.
Yeah,
once I got that timing
and
on
fitting
point.
wise, that's an important thing to listen to too, when a player's like, oh, this is really good if I time it well. And that's where I'm going to kind of grab that.
Yeah, you go,
and take that away from
we don't
them,
want you
because,
to have to time
Yeah,
it.
we don't want the really good one that's 1 out of 7 times. We want the good ones that are 7 out of 7 times.
Right.
That way they're not trying to just correct their swing to match the shaft. We want their swing to just naturally hit the ball really well with whatever profile that they're in, instead of, you know, finding something and like, oh, let me find my swing for that.
Last profile.
Last profile, save the fun one for last. And so in our first iteration of Ventus Hybrid, all the hybrids were TXs. Here it's just an X profile. We wanted to denominate it as a TX just because we did feel like it was an ultra stiff part.
It was.
Just so people kind of know what they're getting into before putting it in. And so we feel here that we've got
A little more separation.
Yeah, it's not quite a TX there.
Oh, that's stiff. I like this one. I like this one more than the other two.
I say that sounded great.
Yeah, they're great. No, this timing, everything feels really good.
221 does not suck.
Do you notice the little things that he's doing over there? Red line for the red shaft, blue line for the blue shaft, black line. It's just great.
Just the little things for the video.
Not only is he
little
wearing a
detail.
fantastic watch, he's just doing it right, you know?
He just does it right.
I'll take 14.
For Wade, I mean, I don't know if you know this or not. This guy is the total package. He's put together.
What are you on about over there?
Oh, well, yeah, it's a constant back and
Okay.
forth.
It's got to be a balance.
The dynamic.
Yeah.
It's the dynamic.
This is really easy to hit. This is great.
Yeah, sometimes the stuff that makes the most sense on paper isn't always the one we land on.
100%.
That was a good miss hit too.
Playable miss.
I think what I've noticed is with the hybrid as well, especially for me, I usually like something more with an active tip. I don't want an active tip with a hybrid because I want to be able to because it's a shorter club. So to be able to just address something and swing my swing, I'm not losing it left. I haven't lost one of these left once yet.
And angle of attack, 3.4 up
With a hybrid. Yeah.
This is really fun to hit. This is just too much fun to hit. I don't want to stop.
And again, like we've said before, it's obviously black is a very stiff profile overall, very stiff handle, very stiff tip section, but we still have a lot of feel and control over where we feel like the club head is in the shaft, where it's loading and everything like that, because we don't want to just be swinging a telephone pole.
Right.
100%. No, this definitely, it is stout, but it doesn't feel that way. So no, that feels great.
Let's take a look at that data and just kind of talk through numbers, what we're seeing.
Okay, we started with blue. We moved to the higher profile with red, lower profile with black. We purposely did not make any commentary as to how stiff these parts are. One of the biggest things about VeloCore Plus, both in the wood line and the hybrid line, is we have improved feel quite a bit without sacrificing accuracy and consistency. It's kind of a funny story. When we do this in testing process, everything's blacked out, just how you hit it. We don't tell people what's what. You get some really interesting feedback that is usually quite different than what they anticipate when they see a color on a shaft. When we tested the wood line, it was very similar to what you experienced when you hit the black profile, which is it's really throwing me off that this is not more wild because it doesn't feel as stiff as it should be to give me that result. And that's a little tough for some players to adopt because their whole lives they've just gone stiffer and heavier and they just take feel out of it to try to get this way. So bringing that back in, it's been a little bit of an adjustment for players, and then once they game it for about a round, they're like, yeah, I can't go back to anything else. So I wanted you to experience that without giving you any preconceived notions. You knew when we said, okay, this is the black, you probably had some thought. Even with the waggle test, it feels pretty stiff, and then in practice, a little bit different. So I want to talk about this because this leads us to a very important fitting story that I want to talk about. So we started with the blue, which is relatively familiar to what you have in your utility iron, correct? Correct. So we've upgraded the technology, upgraded the feel and performance overall, but it probably felt more familiar than different, right?
100%. Definitely
a different chassis using a hybrid instead of utility iron. So we see some very consistent, very good numbers, right? So you see kind of spin rates where you'd want to see them, you see a good launch angle, kind of good ball speeds. Then we switch to red, which is a big shift in gears. And you start to see this number drop, and you see this number drop. And what that tells us from a fitting perspective is, well, regardless of what's happening here, these are not center face shots. And this is where it's important where we talk about the combination of a shaft fitting with a head fitting. They got to work together. So if we make a profile like a red that's stiffer in the handle section, maybe not as stiff as it is in the wood line, but then it gets progressively softer, how that times with your swing can often lead to mishits at impact, because a shaft is going to lead, it's going to droop, it's going to kick, it's going to do all these things that you don't really perceive are happening in that transition and the downswing. And what we can see happen from time to time is exactly this between a black and a red. And what's happening there is you're feeling that shaft almost lag and come in, and the club is almost a little bit de-lofted. So you can actually see lower launching. And then this just comes from that kind of toe shot, right? A little bit off to the side. So that's all what a shaft is doing.
I could only time one proper one out of the 5 or 6 I hit with the red. I only timed
And I
one.
think Andrew touched on that in the fittings. What we don't want to do is, man, if I time this perfect, I kill it. It's like, how often does that happen? Maybe more often than not, but still not every single time. And that leads us kind of down here, and where you see this number here. That shaft profile for your swing is so stable that the shaft is staying pretty consistent. Even though it's lagging and leading and doing all these things, it's pretty timed up, and you're getting a true lofted impact along with a center face strike. Well, you start to see good ball speeds with higher launch angles and very manageable spin. So this is why it's important to kind of walk through all three. It's definitely true that when we see in testing and product development, when we say things like this is engineered to be a mid-launch, mid-spin, high launch, whatever, low launch, that is what we see majority of the time. That's what they're meant to do. But that's what's so specific about fitting is that can be different for every single player.
Yeah, I would have thought I would have gone blue, red, black.
Yeah.
And it looks like I should be black, blue, red.
The only uptick I would see here, I mean, and this is just going to be like how you want to control the loft of that golf club. I mean, the blue's a little bit faster, but we're talking a mile an hour. It's nothing insane. So this is going to be dependent on how you want to play that golf club, what loft you want to play. And you even mentioned, we were chatting a bit off camera, you're talking about tipping. You know, I might actually tip something with a softer tip section more and something with a stiffer tip section less. Not a bad call either. That's just really kind of player specific. But what I want to take away from this is just, what were your overall thoughts on hitting the product, regardless of which profile was best for you? Like, just thoughts on the product itself.
Everything felt really, really good. Everything felt very, very stable. Everything felt different to the other shafts, which is good because there is separation between all three of them. So if you do like a certain profile, you will get that in the profile that you're looking for. All in all, thought it was a really, really good feeling shaft. So definitely something that when this does release, I will want to be putting into and testing for a new driving iron.
That's what we like to hear. So yeah, that's just kind of a dose of what we got coming up. I'm glad you got a chance to hit it. You got a little preview.
Yeah, appreciate you letting me do that.
I know you'd be very excited for when you can order one, which is good.
100%.
But this is what we talk about here a lot. I mean, Fujikura is a very fitting focused company, just like you are as well. And so that's where we can have these conversations that are a little bit more fitting specific and less just general product. But I'm glad that you liked them, and I'm glad they did what we said they do.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for letting me hit it. It was a lot of fun, and now I've had a lot of things happen on this trip so far, questioning whether I should play steel or graphite in my iron shaft, and now I'm like, do I need to do hybrid? But no, this is a lot of fun. I appreciate that a lot.
You got it. Absolutely.
So with that, I think we wrap this test up.
I think that's it.
And before we wrap up the video, make sure, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. Any questions on upcoming Fuji parts or any question in general about hybrid fitting, shaft fitting, club fitting, drop a comment below, and we'll see you next time.